Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my channel, N.E.W.T. Today I'm going to talk about my ridiculously long TBR for the NEWTs in August. If you don't know anything about the NEWTs or the Magical Readathon, I will leave the announcement video down below, but basically this is a readathon that happens in April and August, and it's based on the academic system from Hogwarts and Harry Potter. You do the owls in April, and then based on the results of that, you do your NEWTs in August. And there are career options that you can aim for, and that is why my TBR is ridiculously long, because I am aiming to be a librarian alchemist. Librarian is pretty achievable. I think I have 7 books to read for that. But alchemist is the single most difficult profession. It takes the most reading, and that's another 14 books on top of the first 7. We'll see if I can achieve this. I'm going to aim for librarian first, and if I get those books read, I will aim for alchemist as my big stretch goal. We will see how this goes. To be a librarian, I need an O in Ancient Runes, an E in Defense Against the Dark Arts, and an E in History of Magic. So for Ancient Runes, A is read a book recommended by a friend. For this one, I have chosen Solitaire by Kelly Eskridge. This is a book that my friend Catherine recommended to me years ago, back when she still had her booktube channel, The Android's Conundrum, and I have kept it on my Kindle ever since, hoping to eventually get around to it. E is a book written in past tense. I have a lot of options for this, and because I want to read more of the fantasy masterworks and SF masterworks that I own, I chose The Broken Sword by Poul Anderson. And O for Ancient Runes is to read a book that has been on your TBR for ages, and I chose Inverted World by Christopher Priest because it's been on my TBR and sitting on my shelves for at least 4 years now. I need to read 2 books for Defense Against the Dark Arts. A is to read a book that is black underneath the dust jacket. I accidentally read the book I intended for this for the reading rush instead, so I had to pick something else, and the closest I could come up with is To Hold the Bridge by Garth Nix. It isn't black, but it does have a black spine and is very dark gray, and I figure that is close enough. E for Defense Against the Dark Arts is the first book that you just remembered now from your TBR. When I was making this list, the first book I thought of was The Liminal People by Aize Jama Everett. I don't know anything about this book, but it's been on my Kindle for ages. For an E in History of Magic, I need to read a fantasy. That was pretty easy to pick one. I just chose The Last First Snow by Max Gladstone. This poor book has been on so many TBRs, and yet I still haven't read it, so this is like my last-ditch attempt to finally get around to it. And the second book I need to read is a book that includes a map, and I have chosen 40,000 in Gehenna by C.J. Cherryh. Not only does this have a map, it has multiple maps throughout the book. So there are quite a few maps in it, and I'm very curious about what exactly those maps are for. If I want to become an alchemist, I need to read another 14 books, I think. I need an O in arithmancy, an O in herbology, an O in potions, an O in transfiguration, an E in astronomy, and then I also need an O in ancient runes, but that overlaps with librarian. So for arithmancy, for A, I need to read a book that ends on an even page number. I've chosen Swastika Night by Murray Constantine. This is one of the SF masterworks that's written by a woman. The author's name is a pen name on the cover of this. I don't know what it's about, but I think it has to do with fascism and Nazis, and I don't think I'm going to enjoy it very much, but it is short. For E, I need to read a standalone, and I've chosen The Last Good Man by Linda Nagata. This is one of her more recent novels. I'm pretty sure it is a standalone, and I've wanted to read one of her novels for years. And then for an O in arithmancy, I need to read a book that's longer than 350 pages, and I'm going to read my ebook copy of Mother of Invention. It is an anthology, and when I looked up the physical edition of it, it was definitely more than 350 pages. For an O in herbology, A is to listen to an audiobook or to read a book with a green cover. I intend on reading I Contain Multitudes by Ed Yong on audiobook. If for some reason I don't listen to that, I will read Engine Summer by John Crowley, which has a very green-hued cover. E is to read a book between 350 and 390 pages. I've chosen another ebook for this, and that is Something Coming Through by Paul McCauley. This is in his Jackaroo series, I think. I've read a short story in this universe. I loved it, and now I really hope to get to one of the novels. And for an O in herbology, I need to read a book with a flower on the cover. This was so hard. I was trying to just choose from books that I own, and the only one I could come up with is Datura by Lena Crone. I have it in this big omnibus, but I know that it has a cover that looks like it has a flower-like thing on it. And I think a Datura is an actual plant or flower, so good enough. For an O in potions, the first prompt is to read your friend's favorite book. I'm going to read Mainline by Deborah Taramis Christian. This is my friend Tara's favorite book, or one of her favorite books. She recommended it recently, and I will get a copy of it and check it out. For E, I need to read a book with a cover in your Hogwarts house color. My Hogwarts house is a Ravenclaw, and I'm pretty sure the colors are blue and bronze, and I went with Star Nomad by Lindsay Broker because it looked very blue and bronzish or brown on the cover of it. And for O, I need to read a book that starts with a prologue. Usually I have a mini rant about so many unnecessary prologues, but for once I'm glad that I had options. I ended up choosing The City and the Stars by Arthur C. Clarke. For an O in Transfiguration, the first prompt is to read a book with LGBTQA+ representation. I'm going to read Stars in My Pocket Like Grains of Sand by Samuel R. Delany. I'm not 100% sure what this book is about, but I've never read a book by Delany yet that doesn't have queer rep of some type. It's always going to be about sexuality with Delany, so I'm pretty sure that's going to fit the bill. For E, I need to read a book that's not first in a series, so I've chosen Expiration Date by Tim Powers. This is second, and because I haven't read the first book, I'm going to use that for O, and that is read a book over 500 pages. So Last Call by Tim Powers is definitely over 500 pages. It's a bit of a chunker. And for the very last subject, I need an E in astronomy. So the two books for this, the first one needs to be a book with a moon on the cover or anywhere in the title. I'm going to read Waking the Moon by Elizabeth Hand, which has moon in the title. I think the cover of it also has a moon on it. And then for E, I need to read a book with the word night in the title or in the series name. And I'm going to attempt In the Night Garden by Catherine M. Valente, which is another ebook I've had for years and just forgot that I needed to get around to. If I have counted correctly, that is 21 books that I want to read in August, and this may be even too ambitious for me given how busy I'm going to be in August, but you know, I like challenges. So let me know if you're going to be reading any of these books as well for the NEWTs. If you have a TBR, let me know down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon, and until then, bye.